What's up guys, and welcome back to Madman Music. In today's episode, we're talking about the ENKI AMG 2 double guitar case and why you should own it. Let's get into it. Hey guys, thanks for stopping back by. Before we jump into anything, do me a favor, if you haven't already, hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, join this community, we're always talking about cool stuff. And if you're interested in supporting the channel, head down to the description. There's 1,000 links on all kinds of stuff that you could do that definitely helps me out, that might also help you out. So hit the description, all kinds of good stuff down there. Today we're talking about the ENKI AMG 2 double guitar case, and this thing is probably, in my opinion, the best insurance policy that you can buy for your guitars. The shell is made from a rotomolded polyethylene plastic, which is airline safe, incredibly lightweight, and virtually indestructible. When you open this thing up on the inside, throughout the entire case you're going to find EVA foam, which is a really dense, shock-absorbent foam, which is perfect for the inside of a case. Normally you'll see this same material all throughout a studio used in sound baffles and diffusers. But in this case, no pun intended, it's perfect for shock-absorbent material because it's so dense, yet it also provides a lot of cushion. You're gonna find that throughout the entire case, and there's also gonna be certain pieces of this EVA foam that are adjustable and movable throughout the case, so that you can fine-tune exactly where to place it so that your guitars don't move at all and they have maximum security. Another thing that you might notice as soon as you open this thing up is that there's this nice gray O-ring that goes around the entire lid of the case. This O-ring essentially seals this case and makes it not only airtight but waterproof, which is perfect for those that are traveling via airplane, going into climates that are less than hospitable, be it warm, humid climates, wet climates, or even just cold, snowy climates. This O-ring is gonna allow the case to keep your guitars away from those changes in humidity and moisture. You could also take this thing and throw it off the side of a boat and it would probably just float, and you could use it as a life raft or something. So not only are your guitars safe, but so are you. One of my favorite features about this case is that the lid is removable. You could take this thing clean off and set it aside so that the case itself then becomes a guitar stand or a guitar boat. You could wheel this thing directly into a gig, take off the lid, and there you go. Your guitars are set up and ready for you to go. And then when the gig's finished, just stick that guitar you just played back into the case, pop the lid back on, and you're out. It makes traveling super convenient and also super safe. This case also has super comfy, super smooth wheels so that when you're moving it around, it's really easy and sweet and smooth to get from A to B. When it comes to safety, not only is the case built to basically withstand being tossed out a window, it also has some built-in features that allow you to make the case even more safe. For one, the molded handle on the top. Being made from the exact same roto-molded polyethylene material as the rest of the case is essentially indestructible. You're not gonna break this thing off unless you're purposely trying to break this thing off. In most everyday standard situations, you're not going to have an issue with the outside material of this case. ENKI has also added this super durable top latch. This thing is super strong, and actually I can't even unlock it without using the molded handle to give it enough force to open and close this thing. That's how hard it's pulling to keep the lid closed. Not only is the latch system heavy duty, ENKI has also added an extra security measure by giving you the option for something like a padlock or a luggage lock or some sort of security system to make sure that the lid is completely locked. You could use various types of locks in this situation. Now, if you're traveling via airplane and you're checking this thing in, you want to make sure that you're using a lock that's TSA approved. There's plenty of manufacturers that make these kinds of locks, But it's really important because this way, when TSA wants to get inside of your case and check things out, because this will happen if you're storing, for instance, like cables and wireless systems or batteries and things like that. This is all stuff that when they x-ray your case, they're gonna see these things and they're gonna be, this looks suspicious, especially if it's all wrapped up. And 9 times out of 10, they're gonna check the inside of your case. So buy either a TSA approved lock, or you could do something real simple. Pro tip, just use a simple electrical zip tie. And just slip that through there. This way, if they wanna break this thing open, they can. And it really didn't cost you anything. And as an added security measure, I recommend getting something like a luggage strap. If you use this luggage strap on here, all you gotta do, wrap it around, pop it on like that. This is 3 nearly foolproof security measures to make sure that your case isn't opening. But it's also easy enough for TSA to get into your case and inspect whatever's going on so that it's moving safely through each of the airports and terminals or wherever you're moving through. One really cool thing that ENKI includes with every single case is this awesome little soft padded accessory case, which I use to store things like my straps and my wireless receivers. So whenever I'm done playing my guitar, I wrap up my strap, I set it in here, I set my wireless receivers inside, boom, bang, boom, take this guy right here, open up this case, and stick it right in the lid. There's a little space right inside the lid that would fit. That's perfect. And voila, everything else is in here. Another little pro tip while using this case, especially if you're traveling. Now, bear in mind, this case weighs about 25 pounds by itself. So once you start loading guitars in here, you're gonna come close to that like 50-pound threshold that's allowed to check as airplane baggage without having to pay extra fees. When I put my guitars in here and I have my wireless system and my cables and all of my basic small gear, when I set it in here, this thing weighs about in the ballpark of about 45 pounds. As a little pro tip, what I like to do sometimes is I will actually keep things like my cables or any little effects pedals that I'm using, I'll keep those in my backpack, and I'll actually fill the case full of clothes, because clothes don't weigh that much, and they actually just add an extra layer of security for your guitars inside the case. This way, you have your cables and things in your backpack so that when you go through all the security checks, they'll just x-ray your backpack and then you can explain to them that this is music equipment, and 9 times out of 10 they're gonna be perfectly fine with it. Can't say that I've ever seen anybody be bludgeoned to death by a distortion pedal, but you know, crazier things have happened with the metal zone pedal. Speaking of traveling and checking this case in as bulky luggage on an airplane, please be advised, this case is fairly large in comparison to something like a single guitar case. So imagine, already it's going to be at least twice as big because it's holding 2 guitars. But in this case, it's got a little bit more extra girth to it because it's got so much padding in it. Again, this thing is like an insurance policy for your guitars. So I'd have to say one of the very few cons of this case is the fact that it is very large and technically it's too big to even be considered bulky luggage without having to pay extra fees at the airport. But I have never experienced an issue traveling with this case where I needed to pay extra money for it or had any trouble checking it. I go to the check counter, they ask me what's in the case, I say that they're guitars, and they say, okay, great, here's a tag, take it to bulk luggage. And it goes to bulk luggage and it's fine. This is usually because if you keep it under the weight maximum, which is usually something around 50 pounds, if you keep it under that weight, then generally when you go to check this thing at the check-in counter, they're not gonna have a problem with it because it's not so big, and the fact that it's square and it's not a real strange shape. These things are, I think, more factors in what alert the check-in clerks than just something that's kind of square. This is easy to move, it's easy to stack on, it's easy to do stuff, it's not fragile, even though what's inside is fragile. Lastly, be advised that the AMG2, just the standard version of this case, is made specifically for most traditional guitar shapes, like your Strat style, your Les Paul style, your SG style, things of that nature. However, guitars that are like 335s or Explorers or Flying Vs, ENKI has a completely different model that's slightly bigger that allows for those sorts of guitars to fit into it. So make sure that when you're picking out your case, to make sure that you're picking the correct style of case to fit your guitars. So for those of you that are interested in picking up a case for traveling whenever the world opens back up and you're getting back out on the road and touring again, anybody that's traveling with more than one guitar, I highly recommend this case because it's virtually indestructible and it's very easy to move around with. It serves multiple purposes and just makes that aspect of traveling so much easier to deal with. So I highly recommend this case. Pick one up, you won't regret it. Alright guys, so that's the ENKI case. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Head down to the description, all kinds of links for things like teespring.com to pick up some merch or become a patron for $3 a month. All the links are down below. Any of that support is super helpful. Thank you again, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace! Why is this video so complicated for me?